Hi, Phyllis here, southernfrugal.com. Well, if y'all have been watching the videos, you know that we had a little bit of bad luck with our flat surface cooktop. It's been probably a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now. And so what I had to do is find another cooktop. And I looked, of course, for the flat surface cooktops, and none of them were the right size for the inside where you have to slip it through the countertop. And so I looked and looked and looked and checked measurements just over and over and over. And I think because the cooktop, my original cooktop, was 11 years old, they just started making them a little bit different. And so I could find one that was almost enough, almost fit, but not quite. And so anyway, I finally decided that I was going with a coil top cooktop, and I did find one that would fit. The one I found was a Manna, and of course the flat surface cooktops that I was looking at were anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500. Now the one that I purchased that was a flat surface 11 years ago was $759, so they had really doubled in price. And that cooktop was an Manna. And I really let the salesman talk me into it because, first of all, it looked real modern, and that was when a lot of people were first getting the flat surface cooktops. And so anyway, what he neglected to tell me is I would have to buy a whole new set of pots, which I did, because the pots have to fit exactly flat on the burners. And the other thing was that it was supposed to cook faster than a regular coil cooktop. Well, I found out that isn't true either. The coil top, or at least this coil top that I've got, cooks in about half the time, maybe a little more, than the flat surface I had. And the reason I know that is because the flat surface would boil water that I would use for making iced tea, because I pretty much make that every day. So I knew that it would take 7 minutes in the pot that I was using, and plus I was using filtered water, so it came from the refrigerator. So lo and behold, when I got this cooktop installed, it took half that time. I could not believe it. I thought all this time, I thought the flat surface was faster. It's not, at least not with the one I've got. This one's much faster. The other thing I learned was that a lot of the cooktops that you can find on the internet, almost all of them call for a 240 volt wire. And I thought, okay, we're going to have an electrician come out here and put the wire back to the fuse box at 240. So as I was researching that, I discovered that what happened was, what changed was the requirements that they have for building houses and all that. They just renamed the 220 240. So, but I still wasn't sure, even though I looked that up, because I can do wiring inside, but I can't do wiring to the box. I don't know how to do that. But I can do plug-ins and light switches and all that, just don't know how to do it back to the fuse box. So anyway, I decided I would have to ask an electrician. So sure enough, I found one at Lowe's, and he was in there buying some other stuff. And he said, no ma'am, they're exactly the same. He said the only thing that changed was the code. So the code book changed. So, okay, so now I know my wire will work. So then I was sure of which cooktop I could order then. So anyway, I ended up ordering the Manna cooktop from Lowe's over the internet, because most places you can't really go in the store and buy it. They don't stock them, they have to order them. And I found that to be true with everywhere I looked. You had to order them from the internet, so that was fine. So I thought, well, if I'm going to order it from the internet, I might as well have it just delivered to the house, because it's going to be the same anyway. The shipping was free. It cost $249, and what I was looking at was the flat surface, which were anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, and they still didn't really fit my opening. even the brand I got before was now a different size. So we ended up going with this one. I'll show y'all. Oh wait, let me get that off. So I've got 2 large burners and 2 smaller burners. Now this burner heats up fastest, and if I've got a big burner on and this big burner on, it doesn't get quite as hot. You can actually use all 4 of them on high, but they're not going to get as hot. And there's a reason for that, because in this little section where you have your knobs, they have got this thing wired, as all of them are, so that you really probably can't have all 4 burners on high at the same time. And if you think about it, what would you ever be cooking that you would have all 4 burners on high at the same time? That just doesn't happen. So anyway, that was something new that I did not know. And I remembered on the flat surface cooktop, if I was using the other 3 burners, my back big burner didn't quite do right. Or if I wasn't using them, it would get too hot. I never understood that until I started researching all this. But that the manufacturers really are fixing it so that all 4 burners just aren't going to be on high at the same time. It will take away, if you try to do them all 4 on the super high and just leave it on high for a while, one of the other burners is going to go down. It's not going to use as much electricity, so it's programmed to turn itself down a little bit. So anyway, that was something I did not know. And they said that was true from way back many years ago. Again, I did not know that. All right, so what I had to do with this one, let me take y'all off the tripod. Oh, sorry, I jiggled you. So what I had to do, because I couldn't find one that fit exactly, is I had to add another layer of tile down here. Now luckily in the garage we had saved some of this, so this tile goes under to about right there. And because see, when I didn't have that in, you could see down to the floor because there was a big gap there, so I had to add that, so that took a lot more time. Now let me show you what I had to do. Alright, so underneath, let me cut the light on for y'all. There. Alright, see that whiter colored board? That's a 2x4, and I had to sister it onto that darker colored board underneath and screw that in so it'd be stable, and then I could add the tile to that section. Now there, see where the light is right there? That little part of the wiring will turn, so if your plug-in was over here somewhere or down lower, you'd still be able to make it work. I had to drill a hole where this goes through right here, but I had to do that with the other one, so the hole was already drilled through that little 2x4, and there's the plug-in, and it's just a matter of doing the just connecting the wires and then putting that little tab that goes on the end of them. So it was really simple to install. And again, to my surprise, when I started cooking with it, everything worked faster, which was a real shock. All right, I want to keep telling y'all about this, so hold on. All right, I got y'all back up on the tripod. All right, so we called a repairman to come out and look at the flat surface cooktop that had caught fire, and it turned out what was burning was the little plastic or rubber thing that was under the little knob where you turn it off and on in the different levels, and because there was really nothing else there to burn except the wires. So anyway, he came out the very next morning and took the cooktop out, and I was thinking, okay, I'm not sure this is going to work, but I thought, you know, I don't know anything about it. So he took it apart, and he said it was all pretty well cooked, yeah, because it burned up the wiring's what it did. And the wire, the fire kind of went down in the little box, so it didn't just burn that burner up, it burned the one next to it, and it also burned the wires to the other two. So anyway, that cost us $75 for the repairman to tell us we had to get a new cooktop. So anyway, and he also said, you know, it'd been working for 11 years. It was probably time to replace it anyway. So here's what I wanted to say about all this. So I made myself some notes so I'd remember to mention this. I know a lot of y'all have got the flat surface cooktop probably, just like I did. And a lot of people have the whole stove where the cooktop is flat. So when we called the repairman, the very first thing he said, did you break the top surface of it? And I said, no, it didn't break. It caught on fire though. So the biggest thing that mostly happens, according to him, is people drop something on the glass cooktop and break it. That's the number one thing that happens, he said, with his experience. So anyway, and I was always afraid of that, taking something out of these top cabinets, if it was maybe glass, that I might drop something. I never did, but I was always fearful of that. All right, and also I did not use my cast iron skillets, or I've actually got a big soup pot that's cast iron too, on my cooktop, because the instructions that came from the manufacturer said do not use cast iron. And I think maybe part of the reason for that is not all cast iron will fit down flat on the burner, but the other thing is you might break the cooktop by just dropping it a little bit. If you just picked it up and dropped it a couple of inches, it would most likely break it. But anyway, so can you have all 4 burners on high at the same time? The answer is no. It's not a good idea, because you're probably going to blow a fuse, or either if you've got a stove that has the adjustments in there for the electricity, it's going to automatically cut one of the burners down, or maybe 2 of them. All right. Is the flat surface easier to clean? Now, I've had experience with gas, the electric coil, even the wide electric coil that they used to have in the 50s, and of course the flat surface. And I can tell you, the flat surface is not easier to clean. All right, let me show you this. So what you have to clean the flat surface, glass cooktop cleaner. All right, and you have to have a razor blade scraper. And the reason you do is because if you're like frying something on one burner, like say you were frying bacon in a skillet, it's going to splash, right? And it gets on one of the burners and you don't wipe it up, or you don't even see it there. And then the next time you go to use that burner that the grease was splashed on, if you didn't wipe it up, as soon as you turn it on, it's going to cook that oil or whatever it is right to the burner. And then you're going to absolutely have to use something like this, and most likely if you boil over something else, you'll have to use a razor blade scraper. That's the only way you can get it off, or either just be there scrub forever. So to say that it's easier to clean, no, it's not, y'all. Now this stove, the burners all come out, and the little, I'll show you. All you have to do, let me just show you. All right, so all you have to do, let's do this little burner right here. Put that one back down. All you have to do is just pull it up. It's connected right there. There's a little notch. Just pull it up and you pull it out. Now, if one of your burners ever burns out, you can just order a new burner. It's really that simple. This can go in the dishwasher. It's stainless steel. And you see right here, it's got a little itty bitty notch right there. And so when you put the burner back in, say you took them all out to wash them, you put that back in, it just plugs right in, and then you mash it down where that little notch is, which is right, let me get it straight here, right there. You just mash it in that little notch. You hear it click in there, clicks in there, and then it's there. Then it's sitting level. It'll be easier to get out and in after you've done it, 2 or 3 times. But these can go right in the dishwasher. Now, anything that you get on the burner, like if you got a little, I got a little grease spatter on this back burner the other day. You can just wipe it off, but the next time you turn the burner on, it's just going to burn it right off. So anyway, So what's the conclusion of all this? $1,000 to $1,500 for a flat surface cooktop. This one costs $249. Now I had to pay $17 in sales tax because it was ordered to do with the Orangeburg, South Carolina store, and they have more sales tax than we do in the county we live in, but because the order had to go through them, I had to pay the $17, but the shipping was free. Now I think that Lowe's has a warehouse in North Carolina, probably. I think North Wilkesboro, somewhere like that, which is not that far from us. But they offered free shipping. Now the other thing I wanted to know about was how can it be returned? Like if I didn't like it, how can it be returned? And the company that won on that one was Whirlpool. And not only that, I don't have it now, I've packed it away, or do I? No, I don't have it. They send a return UPS slip with the box. So if you tried it and it didn't fit, put it right back in the box, call UPS, they come and pick it up, and you can exchange it for another one. It's that simple. Now, Home Depot did not offer that, and several of the manufacturers that I actually called on a 1-800 number also didn't offer that. And one lady actually had the audacity to say to me, "Well, ma'am, you need to make sure you measure it right the first time." It really burned me up that she said that. Of course I know how to measure, but what I was trying to avoid was having to make my hole that it went in, make it a little smaller so that everything would fit. So I ended up having to do that anyway, but I ended up getting through Lowe's because of the return policy. That's why I bought from Lowe's. Home Depot did not have it. They said you'll have to deal directly with the company. I'm happy to deal directly with the company, so I don't have to order through you now. Lowe's did not say anything like that. Now, the other thing was the delivery was 3 to 5 days. It came on the 3rd day, which was great. So anyway, I'm very happy with it. The other thing I super like about it is my pots sit up a little higher. Maybe I would say that's a full inch higher than they did on the flat surface. Now, I have already allowed some potatoes to boil over a little bit. Now on the cooktop, what happened on the flat surface cooktop, it was this back burner. I had those green little baby lima beans, and I was sitting right over there in a chair, and as soon as they boiled over, I immediately knew it. I jumped right up, but some still got in there, and it ran down into the connection on the burner. Now, the other day when I was cooking the potatoes and they didn't really boil over. I had the lid on and they kind of bubbled up past the lid. And what went over the top collected right down there. There was none on the stove top, which was a good thing. Now on the flat surface, it just ran a little bit that way and started the fire. Shorted it out and started the fire. So I'm back to the coil cooktop burners, and also when we build our house, and I'm going to get a regular stove, and I'm going to get this kind of top on it. I'm not going to get the flat surface ever again. And I didn't know how to compare them at all because I just listened to what the salesman said. Oh, they cook faster, much easier to clean, and all that, and of course they cost double and triple what this type costs. So, just so y'all know, I don't know if you're in the people that have the flat surface say they love them, and I thought mine was okay, but I never bought that it was easier to clean. So, what was my flat surface cooktop good for? It was real good for rolling out pie crust, y'all, because of the super flat surface. I used it to roll out pie crust all the time. So now, of course, I've lost that space. I'll have to use my table because we have tile on our counters. And the other thing is the flat surface cooktop is going to cost a whole bunch more if you have to have it repaired. And if you have to have the glass replaced, I would say it's going to cost you a tremendous amount more. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, it boils water faster, y'all. I don't know why, but it does. And maybe on the other one, I just wasn't able to compare the two because I had never really kept track of the time that it takes to boil water except for the water for the tea. And I always start out with filtered water, which is in the refrigerator, so it's cold water. But that I was aware of just immediately because I couldn't believe it boiled that fast. I was so used to, for 11 years, it taken a minimum of 7 minutes. That was minimum. Anyway, the other thing is that your pots get hot a lot faster than they do with the flat surface. So if you're going to fry something, they just get hot a lot faster. And the other thing I like, when you are boiling water, or really anything, you can hear it. It makes a noise. Where the flat top, mine never made any noise till it was just major boiling up out of the pot. And I'm talking about mainly boiling water because I always put the lid on it when I was getting ready to make the tea to boil the water. And the only way I knew it was boiling is I would hear the lid rattling a little bit. With this one, it makes a noise. You can hear the sound of it getting ready to boil. So that was a plus. Anyway, so y'all leave the comments and tell me what you think. I know probably most of y'all have the flat surface cooktop. And let me just say this, it would be hard to compare unless you had this type cooktop and a flat surface cooktop right beside it and demonstrated the two. But whoever has that? Nobody, right? So it just was very interesting when I learned about all of this. So my top is the white porcelain, and it actually looks a lot better in the kitchen than the other one did. It just looks better. So anyway, we're very happy with it, and I definitely learned that I will be getting this kind when we get appliances for the house we're going to build. I want a regular stove with a regular wide oven, and I want the electric coil cooktop for sure on the stove. No question at this point. All right, y'all, so that's my opinion of all that. If your opinion's different, leave it right down in the comments and let us know what you think. If any of y'all have found out the same thing that I found out. All right, we will see y'all next time. Bye for now.